The Book of Balance once again writes in itself. To defeat the external evil, you must first defeat the internal. Kanan looks at the words puzzled. Was this book really talking to him? Why would this book know anything to actually say? The Book of Balance. The balance of what exactly? He asks Rev. Who named this book? Rev smiles. It named itself according to legend, and the mentions of it in literature go as far back as the history of this universe. There are items, Kin. Items that defy imagination. Items from when the gods walked among the Garden of Eden called existence. This thing called life. They are being called God items. Kane looks back at the book. How could something like this even exist? What did its existence mean? The book writes, "You're asking the right questions the wrong way." But I didn't say anything out loud, Kane exclaims. You don't have to, smirks Rev, knowingly. The confusion at the strange circumstances in which Kane kept finding himself had been buried behind a mental wall, a wall that was now crumbling. A portal opens by one of the walls. Three beings, their forms hidden by a dark energy cloud that seemed to hover over the surface of their bodies, cloaks with glowing eyes and hoods, wielding swords in both hands. Abyss Shadow Guardians! Deck exclaims in surprise. But why here? He asks aloud, backing away. All three focus on Kane. He gets a cold shiver that runs down his body and up again. They are around him before he can do anything to stop them. All their blades pointed to all sides of his neck. Do not attempt to evade. A ghostly, multi-layered voice comes from all three at the same moment. The three gate, with Kanan in their midst, as Rev and Deck look on helplessly. I haven't seen an Abyss Shadow Guardian in decades. What would they want with Kane? Dick wonders aloud. Rev is worried that it is not Kane they are after, but the book. It could be a powerful tool in the right hands, regardless of how good or evil those hands were. Rev opens a portal tracker on his axis, but finds their gate trail scrambled for evasion of detection. As far as I know, there is only one being that can control the Shadow Guardians, Deck says, eyeing Rev's axis. Rev turns in surprise. Whom would that be? Maxis, Deck answers with a bad taste in his mouth. Kane looks at both the Shadow Guardians to either side of him, as they guided him down a hall so huge there were clouds beneath the ceiling. The walls themselves molded into and covered by ornate art, unlike anything he had ever seen. They reach the enormous double doors at the end of the hall, just as two giant tamed bleak hearts, which were four-armed, emotionless beasts 14 feet tall as a child on average beings, strained to push the doors open. Intoxicating, heavenly smells wafted through the door to meet him, music as if arranged by heaven's angels and performed by the bands of old resound within his ears. They had entered the throne room. An artificial pocket window opened before them. As the throne was overlooking a black hole, the sight was breathtaking. All the material used for the throne and surrounding platforms was a mystical crystal base, with multicolored rivers of energy in its purest forms running through it. Kane's mouth would have been open in amazement had his mouth still some form of shape to it. Are you seeing this? He whispers mentally to his suit's AI and does not respond. Now that Kane was thinking about it, when was the last time they had spoken? Had it been days? A powerful voice interrupts his thoughts. Ah, good! You have found the creature of the hour. At last our curiosities will be quenched. Come, bring this being forward. The voice came from the extravagant creature upon the throne. As he motioned for those in attendance about him to move away, he turned his head to gaze upon what his servants had brought him. 3 glowing red vertical eyes hovered in front of his face, obscuring what he looked like beneath. Kane could feel the gaze of all 3 eyes upon him.